Hi, friends. So we just read Who Sank the Boat? And we found out that all the animals went into the boat, but it didn't sink until the smallest animal went in. What do you think that is? Well, we're going to do an experiment called Sink or Float. So first we have to make our prediction. So we should gather some items that we want to find out if they sink or if they float. So I have two, but I'm hoping that you'll do more than two. I have a toy boat and I have a rock. So the first thing I have to do is make my predictions. So I have a sheet here. I have the word sink, and you'll see I have a picture of some water with something at the very bottom. So that sunk, it didn't float. And then the other side says float. And I put the little object on top of the water because when something floats, it means it stays on top of the water. And I have two objects. So I have to make my prediction. I have to think about what I know about these objects, what I know about water, and what I know about sink and float. And guess what I think is going to happen. And then we see if it did happen by doing the actual experiment. So I have a toy boat, and I think this toy boat is going to float. And the reason why I think that is because boats float on the water. I know that from the different books that we've read, and I know that from watching boats on the water that they stay on top. So I'm going to make my prediction that this is going to float. The other thing I have is a rock. And I have to make my prediction on the rock too, based on what I know about rocks. So this is heavy. And I know that heavy things tend to sink to the bottom of water. And I also know from my time at the beach that when I find rocks, I find them in the sand. I don't find them floating on top of the water, like maybe seaweed I would find floating on top of the water. But rocks I find down in the sand, even in the water. So I'm pretty sure that they sink. So I've made my predictions and I've stated why I think that this is going to float, the boat is going to float, and the rock is going to sink. So now it's time for me to do my experiment. So we need a container of water and our objects. And let's see. Oh, and paper towels, because it does get a little wet, which floats and which sinks, and if my predictions were right. So I'm going to start with the toy boat. And I think my prediction is right. The toy boat floats on top of the water. And again, it's light, not like the rock is heavy, but it's a boat. So hopefully it would float, right? We don't want to get on a boat that's going to sink unless it's a submarine. Okay, so that prediction was right. So I'm going to keep this in my float column. Now the rock. Let's see what happens with the rock. And it made a little splash. The rock sank to the bottom. I think that it sank because it's heavy and dense. And it just doesn't have the ability to float. It's not light enough. So I'm going to keep that in my sink column. And you can record your findings on Seesaw. I can't wait to see what kind of objects you use in your sink and float experiment. Don't forget to tell me why you think it sank or why you think it floated. Have fun, friends. Bye.